Are you sitting on a potential fortune or caught up in one of the most persistent financial myths of our time? If you spent even a few minutes online searching for the Iraqi dinar, you've been hit with two completely different realities. On one side, there are the gurus and forums buzzing with promises that you're just days away from a life-changing revaluation, a secret windfall that global elites don't want you to know about. On the other side, you have every major financial institution, economist, and even the Central Bank of Iraq itself stating clearly that these claims are not just hopeful but fundamentally false. So who do you trust? And more importantly, what is actually happening right now with the dinar? Today, we're cutting through 20 years of noise, hope, and hype to bring you a data-based, no-nonsense intel summary. We're going to look at what the numbers and official statements actually say, separate the tantalizing fiction from the hard facts, and I'll share the personal faith perspective that has kept me grounded through this entire, often frustrating, season. Remember, I am not a financial advisor. I'm a woman of faith sharing my opinions, research, and experiences. Please pray, use wisdom, and make the best decisions for you and your family. Now, let's start with the single most important piece of data for today, the official exchange rate. As of this very day, December 10, 2025, the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, sets the official exchange rate at 1,310 to 1,311 Iraqi dinars to $1. That's our baseline, our anchor in reality. It's a rate that has been remarkably stable, with the dinar weakening a mere 0.13% over the last month and only 0.21% over the past year. Forecasts from financial analysts project this stability to continue, expecting the rate to hover right around 1,310 for the coming quarter and even the next 12 months. This stability is backed by substantial foreign exchange reserves, which were reported to be around $95 billion as of mid-2025, providing a massive buffer for the CBI to defend this peg. But here is where the story takes its first twist, and where a lot of the confusion and secretive intel begins. While the official window shows 1,310, if you were to walk into a local market in Baghdad today, you would not get that rate. The parallel market rate, the rate people actually get on the street for cash, is different. It's weaker, trading at around 1,390 to 1,430 dinars to the dollar. This gap, this disconnect between the official world and the street, is the heartbeat of Iraq's monetary drama. For years, this gap has been a source of corruption, a tool for smugglers, and a window into the country's economic stress. And right now, the gap is causing significant volatility, but not for the reason the revaluation crowd is shouting about. A massive, underreported regulatory shift is happening right now that explains the current market jitters perfectly. Starting December 1st, 2025, the Iraqi government began implementing a long-awaited and incredibly bold pre-customs payment mechanism. The new rule is simple but revolutionary. No bank is allowed to execute any foreign transfer for imports unless the customs duties are calculated and paid in advance. Think about what this attacks. For decades, a system flourished where businesses could order goods from abroad, manipulate the value of their invoices, and evade paying the proper taxes to the state. This wasn't just petty theft. It was a massive drain on Iraq's treasury and a primary engine for money laundering and speculation. Economist Mana Al-Obeidi, explaining the recent dip in the parallel market rate, called this reform the biggest blow to customs smuggling in 20 years, and stated that the current volatility is a direct, predictable reaction to this shift, not a currency crisis. The speculators and groups who profited from the old, chaotic system are now in a panic. They've stopped selling dollars, creating artificial tension, and are likely launching aggressive media campaigns against the decision. This is the real intel for today, The market is reacting to a genuine, painful, but necessary surgical operation on Iraq's financial body. The CBI's message through all this has been firm and unambiguous. No change in the exchange rate whatsoever. They are not planning a revaluation. They are planning to clean house. This reform, if the government has the courage to see it through without retreating under pressure, could raise billions in state revenue, protect foreign reserves, and be a historic step toward a regulated, honest financial system. So, when you hear rumors of secret meetings or imminent changes, recognize them for what they often are: the death throes of a corrupt status quo, not the birth pangs of a new currency value. So, if massive structural reform isn't imminent, what is the genuine, forward-looking timeline for the Iraqi dinar and the Iraqi economy? The twist here is that the most important events aren't a secret currency switch. They are playing out in plain sight through geopolitics, infrastructure projects, and a painful battle against economic dependency. The true timeline extends far beyond tomorrow or next week. It stretches into 2026, 2027, and the decade beyond, defined not by overnight revaluation but by a grinding, high-stakes effort to build a real economy. The first major marker on this real-world timeline is the nation's looming budget crisis for 2025. With global oil prices in flux, Iraq's primary source of revenue, which funds everything from government salaries to public services, is under severe pressure. A decline in oil income directly threatens the government's ability to maintain its vast public sector payroll and finance critical imports, which in turn puts immense strain on the demand for dollars and the stability of the currency peg. This isn't speculative. It's a fiscal reality check that dictates the urgency for every other reform. You cannot talk about the dinar's future without acknowledging this foundational vulnerability. This pressure cooker of a budget situation is precisely why the government's recent customs reforms and push for economic diplomacy are so critical. They are not optional side projects. They are emergency life support for a patient overly reliant on a single, volatile commodity. This brings us to the second, more promising strand of the timeline: the long-term build. While the budget news sounds dire, it's actively creating the political will for change. Look at the major infrastructure initiatives now being championed as pillars of the future. The Development Road Project, a massive transport and trade corridor linking the Gulf to Turkey and Europe, is being touted by senior government advisors as a cornerstone of a new economic strategy. This isn't just about building roads and rails. It's about fundamentally repositioning Iraq from a passive oil seller to an active economic partner and logistics hub. Similarly, high-level government talks are now focused on productive diplomacy, shifting foreign policy from purely political discussions to hard-nosed negotiations around technology transfer, foreign investment in industry and agriculture, and integration into regional electricity grids. The timeline for these projects is measured in years, not days. Their success hinges on sustained political stability, continuous international engagement, and overcoming decades of entrenched challenges. This is the unsexy, granular work of nation-building that never trends in online forums, but is the only genuine path to underlying economic strength. Finally, and this is where my faith perspective firmly anchors me, we must look at the parallel timeline of human security and national resilience. Currency value is abstract, but flour on the table is not. In a significant and underreported development, Iraq's trade minister recently announced that strategic flour reserves are now secure until 2027, and other key food stocks cover 5 months of national demand. This is monumental. For the first time in a generation, Iraq has achieved wheat self-sufficiency for 3 consecutive years. Let that sink in. A nation once synonymous with insecurity and import dependency is now producing its own breadbasket. This moves the needle on real, tangible sovereignty in a way that a digital adjustment of the exchange rate never could. It reduces the desperate, crisis-driven need for dollar liquidity to feed the population, which over the long term alleviates pressure on the currency. This is the timeline of grit and gradual progress. It's the story of local farmers, of ministries slowly mastering supply chains, and of a population growing more resilient by the season. When I balance the anxiety of budget forecasts against the quiet victory of a year's worth of flour in the silos, I see a nation in tension, but also in transition. The future of the dinar is irrevocably tied to which of these timelines wins out: the timeline of crisis-driven depletion or the timeline of slow, stubborn accumulation of real-world strength and self-reliance. My faith rests in the belief that the latter, though harder and less glamorous, carries a purpose and a promise that transcends quarterly oil reports. The journey itself, the struggle for a diversified economy, for food independence, for a functional state, is where the real value is being built, regardless of the number attached to the dinar tomorrow. So, after confronting the sharp realities of today's market and the patient, generational timeline of reform, where does that leave us, the people sitting with dinar in hand or hope in our hearts? The third and perhaps most critical perspective is not about charts or timetables, but about navigating the human heart and mind through this entire journey. We must discuss the space between the official data and the community whispers, between the prudent warning and the deep-seated belief that something significant is unfolding. This is where faith meets wisdom, and where discernment becomes your most valuable asset. Let's address the community's optimism head-on, because it's real and it's powerful. This hope is not conjured from nothing. There are undeniable, positive signals emerging from Iraq that fuel a vision of a different future. Official government statements now actively speak of a major strategic pivot towards economic diplomacy and productive diplomacy, aiming to transform Iraq from a passive oil seller into an active economic partner, attracting investment in technology, agriculture, and massive infrastructure projects like the Development Road. You see senior ministers traveling to neighboring Gulf states, personally inviting major business councils to invest in sectors from energy to food security and logistics. For the first time in decades, Iraq has achieved wheat self-sufficiency, securing its strategic flour reserves for years ahead. These are not rumors. These are reported facts of a nation attempting, however fitfully, to stand up and diversify its economic base. When you see these genuine efforts, the high-level meetings, the talk of becoming a logistics hub, the focus on real sectors beyond oil, it becomes understandable why so many feel a profound sense of Kairos, a feeling of divine timing and historical pivot. The hope is that this tangible groundwork is the necessary precursor to a stronger, more valuable currency. It's a belief that the nation is being rebuilt from the inside out. Yet, here is the crucial twist, and the point where unwavering hope must be tempered with sober wisdom. These positive developments do not automatically or quickly translate into a currency revaluation. In fact, the institutional and economic realities create a powerful friction against any sudden change. The Central Bank of Iraq maintains a strict, managed exchange rate to ensure stability. More critically, experts point to the vast, existing money supply of dinars. Revaluing the currency against this colossal volume is an astronomically complex monetary operation that no credible institution is planning. Furthermore, the very budget that is supposed to fund this new future is in disarray. As of right now, Iraq is heading into 2026 without a passed budget for 2025, operating on emergency monthly spending rules that are freezing development projects nationwide and widening a massive deficit. This is the stark contradiction. Grand visions of becoming a regional economic hub are running directly into the wall of immediate fiscal paralysis. The political system remains fragile, and the economy is still over 90% dependent on the volatile oil market. So, the hopeful narrative of rebirth and the grinding reality of governance exist in the same space, simultaneously true. Your discernment lies in holding both truths without letting one completely negate the other. This is where the final and most personal layer of perspective comes in, protecting your peace and your pocket. The space between the hopeful vision and the difficult reality is where predators thrive. The internet is flooded with sophisticated scams, dealers without proper licenses, websites promising guaranteed buybacks, and so-called insiders selling fabricated intel about secret meetings and imminent RV dates. They exploit that beautiful, faithful hope and turn it into a financial trap. Remember, the Central Bank of Iraq itself has stated there are no official places to exchange dinar outside of Iraq. Any promise that seems too good to be true, that pressures you for a quick decision, or that comes from an unverified source, should be a major red flag. True wisdom in this season means subjecting every piece of exciting news to a simple test. Is this a verifiable, official action, or is it just another rumor circulating in the echo chamber? Your faith can be in the ultimate outcome without having to believe every headline that claims to reveal its schedule. Therefore, my grounding call to action for you is this. Let your strategy be one of informed, peaceful preparedness, not anxious speculation. First, commit to sourcing your information only from credible, verifiable outlets, official Iraqi ministry statements, financial institutions, and reputable news agencies. Second, if you hold dinar, view it within the context of a very long-term, high-risk potential play, not a short-term trading asset. It is crucial to understand it is not a liquid investment. Exchanging it can be difficult and costly. Never invest money you cannot afford to lose, and certainly never risk your retirement or family stability on this single asset. Third, and most importantly, decouple your emotional and spiritual well-being from the daily exchange rate or the latest online rumor. Build your life, your family, and your sense of purpose on foundations that cannot be shaken by a financial update. Pray for wisdom, seek discernment, and make practical decisions that provide security today, regardless of what happens tomorrow. The journey of the dinar is a story of a nation's struggle. Your journey is one of personal stewardship. Let's walk it with our eyes wide open, our hearts grounded in what is eternal, and our minds sharpened to navigate the landscape between a hopeful vision and present reality. Stay strong, stay discerning, and I'll see you in the next update.